Mighty, there are 16 of us on the call tonight. This meeting is being recorded, so if there's anything that you don't want to say, don't say it because other people will be able to hear it. With that, we have a jam-packed 3-speaker meeting. Let's get started with our Toastmaster of the Day. Please welcome Norman Down.
Thank you. Here on Labor Day, our word for the day is going to be extemporized. It really means to improvise is a synonym. The actual definition is in the chat. This evening, let's start by introducing our helpers this evening. First of all, our timer will be Mike Walsh. Will you explain what you'll be doing, Mike?
Sure, I'll be keeping track of the timing for various speeches and for table topics, along with the evaluations. If you have a different time other than the typical 5 to, but I'll be holding up the green paper plate for yellow or amber. Well, I think you can figure that part out. And then I have a red one here as well. So you may want to pin me onto your screen just to keep track of the timing, and I'll give a report at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Our account here will be Marianne and Wagner. Will you please tell us about your role?
Yep, today I'm the AHA counter, I should say. So I'm looking for words that are used as a crutch, filler words such as well, but, so, like, you know. Also double clutches, for example, the I. And I will be reporting back at the end of the meeting to see how you guys did.
Okay, and you also are going to serve as our grammarian. Would you tell us about that role?
Sure. As grammarian, I'll be looking for, or I'll be listening for possibly grammatical errors, some interesting words, some interesting sentences. I'll be reporting back at the end of the meeting as well.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Our watcher is Christian. Would you tell us about your role?
Good thing, Mr. Toastmaster. So as watcher, my role is to pay attention to our online presence, the video aspect, and then provide feedback, constructive, at the end of the session in my report. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Christian. Our chat manager will be Deborah Carr. Will you please tell us about your role? And you also tell us about the watcher also. Deborah?
Well, Christian's watcher. So,
sorry.
Yeah, I just got thrown. I am the chat monitor tonight, so I am going to be keeping an eye on the chat. And already the information that we have in there is the word of the day, which is extemporize. So get ready, because it means to get along in a makeshift manner and to extempore play. Let's go.
Okay, thank you. Our vote counter is going to be Roger, who will also be our general evaluator. Will you please tell us about your roles?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I will be the vote counter. I will not cast a vote unless there is a tie. We will have 3 speakers today, 3 evaluators, and maybe a few more table topic speakers. So send your vote to me privately to vote counter, GE and vote counter, and I will also serve as the general evaluator later on in the evaluation segment of our meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you very much. And I see that Luke Brown has come on. You were scheduled to be the grammarian. Are you still willing to do that? Okay, Marianne, thank you for volunteering to back up, but Lou will be doing the grammarian role. Okay, we're going to start this evening with a speech. Tiger has one, and he's going to answer a question that we may have had when we see his name. You know, how he became a tiger. Let's welcome Tiger.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I was a very active toddler. At about age 2, my mom told me never ride my trike down the driveway. So of course I did, and I took out a parked car. 8 stitches later, that's why this eye is squinty. In the grocery store, my mom said, never run. So as my brother and I were playing tag, I came around the corner and I took out a check stand, and that is why this eye is squinty, with 11 stitches. One day, sitting on the back porch with a beer and some friends around, my father made the comment, man, that kid is a real tiger. And here we are, 60 years later, and I'm still tiger. Now, what does that have to do with leadership? Well, it has everything to do with leadership. Somewhere in my DNA, I am opposed to authority, and so therefore, as a leader, I kind of despise being an authoritarian. In high school, I was very privileged to play on a championship football team. Unfortunately, the week before the championship game for the state, I tore my ankle. I was devastated. But come game day, I put on my jersey and I went on the sideline. And I became a cheerleader. I high-fived my teammates. I cheered for them. I rooted for them. My buddy Jim Fleshman and I used to always grab shoulder pads and bang heads to get ready for a game. He made a tackle on the opening kickoff, and he came off the field, forgetting that I was in uniform and had my helmet on. He grabbed me by the shoulder pads and drilled me with his helmet, which explains a lot of how I am today. At the banquet several weeks later, I was voted the most inspirational player. Now, I always thought the leader of the team was the captain. But after that, my coach came up to me and he said, being inspiring is being a leader, and you have a gift. You should use that. Later on in college, I took a seminar, and it was a leadership seminar, and the question was, do you think you're a leader? When the question came to me, I said, no. And the teacher said, well, why not? I said, because I don't like telling other people what to do. Well, he laughed, and he said, I'm glad you took this class because there are many forms of leadership. And I came to find out that I'm an encourager. As a coach, you kind of had to be an authoritarian because I was also a teacher. And quite frankly, I did not get to enjoy my coaching as much as I liked. During my 5th year of coaching, my seniors, there were 12 of them. They all been with me for 4 years. And they came into my room and handed me a contract, basically stating that they wanted complete control over the team and how things ran, with the exception that I would take care of administrative duties and decide who got to play and how much they got to play. Well, of course, I thought they were crazy, but I decided to go ahead and give it a week. The very first practice, 5 minutes in, one of the players showed up tardy. And the ringleader, his name was Cody, stopped everybody from doing their warm-ups. And he said, we have a problem. We're a team. We win as a team. We lose as a team. Everybody on the line. And they ran for 20 minutes. And immediately I was like, yeah, I think this is going to work out just fine. The beauty of it was I got to be the coach I wanted to be. I got to be on the side encouraging and motivating and coming up with strategy. I did not have to be the authoritarian. They had what they called the kangaroo court. And I'll tell you a quick story of one of the punishments. We had a player that could not keep his language clean. He got kicked out of a game because the ref thought he was swearing at him. The punishment was very apropos. First of all, he was suspended for a game. The best part of it was he had to don a cheerleading uniform and go in front of the student body and lead them in the student body song, the school song. It was fantastic. Instead of only having about 20 people at our game, we had over 100 because they had put the word out that he was going to do this, and everybody got into it. The beauty of it was, for the next 3 years, that guy never swore again. At least not that I heard. He may have mumbled it once or twice. So the bottom line is I have evolved over the years and I have learned that I am a leader, but as an encourager. And I really enjoy actually being like in Toastmasters, I enjoy being the vice president. I am president of a club, but it was kind of forced upon me. But even there, I am not an authoritarian. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tiger. We appreciate that. You talked about your love for authority. My son was, I was told my son wasn't prejudiced by the vice principal. And I said, prejudice? He doesn't have any problems. He hates all authority. He's your brother, Tiger. Okay, right now our next is from Jacinta. She said that leadership is a priceless gift. Dr. Watkins will be presenting her second speech of her Distinguished Toastmaster Project. Let's welcome Jacinta.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I would like for everyone to take a moment and think of one person who has helped you to become the leader that you are today. You probably have fond memories of that person. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you today that there are many people in the community that need you. They need you to help them become the leaders that they can be. This is the second speech of my Distinguished Toastmasters Project, Developing Leaders. I'm going to share with you the purpose and the goal of the speech of the project, provide you with the exciting results, and provide you with some suggestions, tips that I learned from my team members on how to help individuals become better leaders, which you can apply to the next person you offer a hand to. The purpose of the Distinguished Toastmasters Project is to help an organization. I work for a nonprofit community health center organization, and there are 4 individuals that I have identified who will likely become managers in the near future because my organization and department specifically is growing very quickly. The goal is to help them to, 1, become more comfortable delivering speeches in front of a group, and 2, to help them be more comfortable in terms of how to go about developing a speech to present. Now, if you remember or were a part of the first speech, I went over the project overview in a lot of detail. I'm going to briefly summarize what the project entailed. We started with a pre-assessment that helped to understand where the speakers were at the time before we started the project. They were provided with four exciting speaking opportunities during the project that I'll explain more in detail in a few moments. We had a couple of sessions where we reviewed different speeches. Some of them were World Championships of Public Speaking, and we texted the videos to each other and went and had a healthy conversation about what worked well, what didn't work well for the speakers. We completed a post-assessment and a 360-degree evaluation. Now, how many of you are familiar with a 360-degree evaluation or have had it done in the past? I see a majority of heads shaking, yes. There are a couple no's, and so I'll talk more about that in a few moments. As I mentioned, there is a pre-assessment. The pre-assessment consisted of 2 questions. The first question entailed, how comfortable are you when you are speaking in public? As you notice the results, there was one person at the very bottom that was very comfortable. The remaining 3 individuals were comfortable speaking in front of an audience, but they tend to feel pretty nervous about doing so. And so we wanted to make sure that with the project, this particular place on the assessment would increase. The second question entailed, how comfortable are you in developing a speech? As you notice, the responses are across the board. Some individuals felt that they could write a speech. Some felt like they could write a couple of sentences. Other individuals felt that they didn't really know how to write a speech. So we wanted to make sure that that improved for them also. Now, the speaking opportunities were different because these are individuals who have never had the opportunity to speak in front of a group of people before. Two of the speaking opportunities allow them to communicate with each other. They worked with each other in a group setting. They had the opportunity to either complete a prepared speech for 4 to 6 minutes, similar to an icebreaker, or impromptu speeches. For all of the speaking opportunities, we had group discussions to start to see how everyone felt about the speech, what are their thoughts, what really stood out for them as audience participants. And myself as the moderator, I provided some additional feedback to help them grow. Now, the third speaking opportunity was unique. They had the chance to speak in front of a large audience of people, which consisted of 35 people. Now, for anyone that is a very new speaker, that is a lot of people, but they did extremely well. We also were able to throw in a few impromptu responses for their speeches as well to help them think on their feet. The fourth speaking opportunity was at a local Toastmasters club. They had the opportunity to speak in front of individuals they had never met in their entire lives. They did an amazing job. They learned so much during the other speaking opportunities where they excelled, and our Toastmasters group is looking forward to having them come back in the very near future. So now we're at the fun part. What happened? Did they improve? They did. So for the first question of the post-assessment, which was the same as the pre-assessment, how comfortable are you when speaking in public? As you notice, most of the individuals now feel comfortable speaking in front of a group of individuals. The second option, which included one person who is comfortable speaking in public, but wants to do it every once in a while. That still is a very significant improvement in terms of where that person was before. Now, the second question, are you ready? I'm so excited. How comfortable are you in developing a speech? Everyone was comfortable in developing a speech. We really focused on what does a speech entail? It entails an opening, an introduction, an opening, a body, and conclusion. Now, all of them have a pretty good grasp as to how that process works, and they can develop a speech accordingly, which is exciting. So I want to personally just give them a clap because they did an amazing job, and this was in a 4-week time period. Now, 360 evaluation basically is an opportunity for your team members to take a look and see how you've been doing and give you feedback on what you can improve or what really worked well for them. Now, the tips I'm going to show you, I would recommend the next time you have the opportunity to extend a hand to someone to help them become a leader or help them become a better speaker, consider these because it may be helpful for you. The videos were very helpful. They found that having that dialogue and looking at other individuals and how they spoke was very helpful, and that allowed them to give some more insight and see how other people do it, especially with them starting out in their speaking careers. At the very beginning, I highlighted the successes of the speeches, and we do this as Toastmasters. We always highlight the very beginning. What do you do? What did you do really well? And then help them improve along the way. That encouraged the speakers. Keep in mind, they're very new. They're just starting out in their public speaking careers and being leaders, so we want to make sure that they're able to be rewarded, and they know that they can continue going on. They appreciated being challenged to become better speakers. And oftentimes in Toastmasters, we want to be better speakers and we want to get that positive feedback. But there comes a point where we really need to get into what exactly it is that we need to do to improve. And I challenge them to do so. An example would be, I encourage them to think about the power of the pause. As we all know, pauses are impactful and they can add a large effect to a statement you're trying to make. And so that was one way I helped to challenge them as speakers. In terms of group evaluations, they found that very helpful. They had the opportunity to talk amongst themselves and really share what their experiences were being in the audience. That insight was helpful to provide to the rest of the speakers so that they know what to improve and what really worked well for them. Being encouraging is important. When you're working with someone that is just starting out, being encouraging is really important to them. They're just starting out. You don't want to crush their spirit. You want to make sure that they know they're doing well, they're going to improve, and that they are going to be successful. So continue to encourage them along the way. Active listening is something that we are, as Toastmasters, are trained to do. You really have to have a good ear, because the more you listen, the more the individual knows that you're speaking to them and that you are trying to help them become a better person. And I gave them time to prepare. They needed at least a week to prepare. And I would recommend that when you're working with a leader or trying to help them develop, whether it's a project you want them to work on or whatever the case may be, really give them time. If you say, okay, we have a project and I want you to complete the project in 24 hours, well, that may not work too well for them. Individuals have families, they have friends, they have a lot of other things going on outside of their lives. So keep that in mind as well. I personally understand and appreciate that any leader has to be able to articulate themselves in such a way to where they are understood. And so I've shared with you my process in terms of the purpose of the project, shared with you the very exciting 4 speaking opportunities they had, and also with the results and some suggestions to keep in mind as you are moving through your process, because the community needs you. We need you to help develop leaders. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jacinta. I really enjoyed that, and a very insightful speech. Our next speaker will be Jim Barber. He's doing Engaging Humor, Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, the Icebreaker. This is Jim's first speech for the Engaging Humor path. His first attempt at presenting humor specifically for a video audience. In this presentation, he will explore some of the future wonders that await for us all. Please help me welcome ATM Go, Jim Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and my fellow Toastmasters. Several years ago, I received a letter from the U.S. government. I don't know about you, but anytime I get a letter from the government, it's not good news, and this was no exception. I read the letter, and it said that the United States government has determined that James Harry Barber Jr. is now officially and certifiably old. Now, of course, that's not exactly what they said. What they said was, welcome to Medicare. Again, Medicare, if you don't know it, if you're not familiar with it, it's the United States healthcare system that not everybody can get. You have to meet certain criteria. And the fundamental criteria for being eligible for Medicare is that you have to be old. I like Medicare. I don't like being eligible for it. It's not the first time that that happened. Several years before that, I received another letter. This one from I'm sorry, Tiger just got through describing the problems with using bad language, but there is no way that I can convey the dismay that this letter filled me with without using a 4-letter word. So here goes. I received a letter from AARP, the American Association of Retired Persons. And they said, congratulations, you are now eligible for membership in AARP. But of course, what I read was, congratulations, you're old. It's a constant problem. Not long ago, my wife was feeling neglected and she wanted me to take her out to dinner someplace nice. So I took her to McDonald's, and The lady behind the counter was being very efficient, very effective. She was very nice. We established rapport. She took our order efficiently. Everything was going great. It was a nice evening out until the young lady asked that question. She said, "Sir, would you like your senior citizens discount?" How dare she? Do I look like I deserve a senior citizens discount? I was angry. No, I was outraged. How dare she? How dare she ask that? I looked her straight in the eye and I said, "How much is the discount?" It wasn't enough. As you can tell, I am not looking forward to getting old. It's because I've seen, being in Florida here, we've got a lot of old people around, and I am not looking forward to being one of them. I've determined fundamentally there are three really lousy things about getting old. The first one is that old people tend to repeat themselves. They say the same things, they tell the same stories to the same people over and over and over and over again. But that's not enough. The second thing is they get forgetful. They lose their memories. They don't know what's going on. The third thing is the worst. The third thing is they get distracted. Now, I've always had a crystal clear focus on things. When I concentrate on something, nothing tears it away. So I am not. Has anybody ever noticed that the gallery view looks so much like the opening sequence to the Brady Bunch on TV? Wow, who would have thought that? There are three really lousy things about getting old. The first is that you start to repeat yourself. You say the same things to the same people over and over and over and over again. But the second thing is you lose things. You lose your memory and you lose other things. I'm trying to keep track of the time. I can't see the timing light without my glasses. They were here a moment ago. Okay, well, oh, all right. I'm running out of time, so let me extemporize my remarks here. Let's cut to the chase. I've talked about the bad things about getting old, but let's be fair. There are some good things as well. In fact, I've discovered, going through the process of looking at old people, that there is one thing that's really good about getting old. In fact, it's so important. It's so important that it's almost a fundamental truth. And if you don't remember anything else of what I'm going to tell you this evening, I want you to remember this. There are three really lousy things about getting old. And the first is that you find yourself saying the same things to the same people over and over and over and over. And over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, our old speaker, Jim. Appreciate your humor, very good. And now we have the portion of our meeting where we'll have an opportunity to all extemporize, at least those who are called on by our table topic master. I just lost that. Well,
that's me.
Okay, Graham, I'm sorry. Graham. So, go ahead with the table topics.
One of the things about getting old is that you lose your place. I know this, but I should tell you, by the way, Jim, my wife and I, whenever we are discussing getting old, I keep reminding myself, yes, but it is so much better than the alternative, because there is only one. So, today, pretty much everybody has a role of some form or another. Not everybody, but pretty much everybody. So, if you're a speaker, you probably won't get called on for table topics. If you're an evaluator, yeah, you probably won't, but everybody else, you may be fair game. Let me start with Christian. And my question to you, Christian, is when has your greatest fear come true? When has your greatest fear come true? For a period of 1 to 2 minutes with lights at 1, 1.5, and 2, please, Mr. Timekeeper. Christian.
I will not thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, because one of my greatest fears came true at the start of this session when everyone celebrated my birthday without me realizing it was my birthday. Because it comes down to me being a big introvert. And for a long period of my life, even after joining Toastmasters, I was not comfortable celebrating my wins, whether they were big wins or small wins. And I would always look over them and just keep on churning and running and producing results and getting focused with the end in mind without enjoying the journey. And just like one of our speakers just mentioned, the mentor that really helped me, one of my first mentors was someone I aspired to become as an eloquent speaker, very good at connecting with people, and he really had something different about him that I tried to copy, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed, until one day he sat and he looked at my recording and he told me, you need to release yourself, you need to enjoy yourself, and you need to celebrate your wins, because if you keep focusing on the end in mind, on the end goal, on the end result, on what you're going to get, and you forget about the journey, you will miss out on life, my friend. And I think for me, that's that greatest fear I had of being an introvert, of not expressing myself. It really has now become one of my greatest strengths in terms of accepting that, yes, it's a win, big or small, and even failures. It's happening. It's going to come into a win later on. And especially since I'm a father now, I really need to be able to celebrate my wins openly, because if I do not, my little two devils will be little Christians who will be introverts and be afraid of the world. Over to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Christian, and happy birthday. If life is so short, why do we do so many things that we don't like and like so many things that we don't do? So if life is so short, why do we do so many things we don't like and like so many things that we don't do? I'll run the timing for you, Mike Walsh.
Yay. Well, one of the things that I need to learn to do is to listen properly instead of timing. You know,
let me ask you the question again. Then
that's fine.
No, you're right. Good.
Yep, that's fine. For 4 years, I've been putting off putting a roof on my house. When I bought the house, the real estate person said, "Look, it's a beautiful metal roof. It'll last forever." I looked at it and I said, "It's kind of rusty." And when you lift it up, there was nothing underneath. Usually there's plywood or something like that. Within a month of moving in, I looked up and I saw a couple of leaks around the skylight, and I put it off and I put it off and I put it off. Finally, I learned why I did that. Over the last few weeks, I've been getting my roof done. And then I learned why it wasn't done before. First off, it needed a lot of work. Needed about 70 or 80 sheets of plywood, but the biggest problem was the skylight, because the hole wasn't the right size. It wasn't a standard size, and that's why they were putting it off. So I finally looked around and I said, I need to stop the leaks, get a friend of mine over, did the roof, and it still hurts. I still have to pay for it, but I'm glad I did it. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. And I'd never realized before that if I'm using a timer and I have a green screen, the green light becomes whatever is my green screen. Isn't that amusing? Well done. Thank you. Now, let's move on to my next one. Have you ever regretted something that you didn't say or do? Have you ever regretted something that you didn't say or do? Marianne Magna.
Thank you for that question. I've been thinking about that all morning. No, actually, so the question is, have I ever, say it one more time?
Have you ever regretted something that you didn't say or do?
That's probably going back to what Christian was talking about in terms of being an introvert. That would be many, many things, but sometimes too, there's many things that I say that I wish I hadn't said. For example, I had told my husband early on in our relationship, oh, I really would like that, or I really like that necklace. And then for my birthday, I received a necklace. I didn't mean for actually to be receiving it because I just liked it. I didn't quite want it. There were two different things, which he didn't realize. So he learned quite quickly to not listen to what I say and just do whatever he thinks is best. So anything that I try to say things that I mean to say, but then at the same time, sometimes that doesn't go always very well. So thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Marianne. All right, for our next table topic, if you had the chance to go back in time and change just one thing, would you do it? Not what would it be, you can tell us that if you like, but would you go back in time and change that just one thing? Carol Prahinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. No, I would not. So he hasn't shown me the green light yet. That means I'm supposed to keep talking. Darn. Oh, I was hoping to be introverted tonight and hang on the wall. Oh, aren't you sweet, Mike? So in terms of changing the past, there are times that I wish, I mean, who's not wanting to change the past in some way? We say, oh, I made a mistake. I should have said that instead of this. Oh, I wish I could talk to so-and-so again, but I'm not around anymore. Oh, wouldn't that be great if I blah, blah, blah. Or, oops, I should have done that, and now my mother's mad at me. All these things that we might wish that we could go back and change, but we can't. We can't because we learned something from it many times. Not all the time, but many times we learned something from it. Even the sadness we feel when we can't go back and talk to somebody because they've moved on, they passed, or they moved, literally, and we can't go back and talk to them. Sometimes even that has that bittersweetness to it that makes us be able to treasure this moment right now, today, with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Lovely and sweet. Actually, you're talking about wanting to go back and, oh, I wish I'd said this. The French actually have a phrase for it. And my French is terrible, so I do apologize to Mike, who no doubt speaks much better French than me. But l'esprit d'escalier, which means staircase wit. When you think of something that perfect comeback when you're on the staircase having just left because it's too late to do it. So we all go through that. Talking of memories, my next table topic, what is your most powerful childhood memory? Deborah Carr, what is your most powerful childhood memory? You're still muted, by the way.
What was my most powerful childhood memory? I have so many, it's hard to choose which one. I don't know if it was growing up from a hardworking family, both parents making us get all of our work done before we could do everything. And by gosh, if we got our work done, I'll go on that. If we had 4 girls in our family, 22 girls in a 5-block radius and no boys. Well, okay, we had 2 boys. And that's where we started. So we had our own softball teams. We made our own skateboards. We changed our own oil in our car a lot of times. And we also pulled many pranks. But as a little girl, we had to get our work done before we could go swimming in the afternoon. And if we got our work done, then there was a dime, whole time, sitting on the window ledge in the kitchen. And we got our dime, we could go swimming. But if not, then we didn't. We were kind of goofed up there. And on weekends, if we got our work done, then we got to have the quarter to go. But my parents, my mother was a hairdresser, my father was a General Motors supervisor, and they cracked the whip, and 4 girls helped out with everything that was going on, from mowing lawns to their rental properties to scrubbing floors to learning the basics of life together. And that neighborhood of all those girls and guys just cruising continually was just a hoot. Mr. Table Topics.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for that wonderful reminiscence there. I got to say, I chose this next one specifically for the person who I'm about to give it to because I couldn't resist. What do you love most about yourself? Lou Brown. Lou Brown, what do you love most about yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. Ooh, where do I begin? The charm, the looks, the sense of humor, the fact that I also got an AARP card, so I know where Jim's coming from. But of course, I look very young, and I like that about myself. I also like the fact that I live in Chicago, where I can do so many different things. I can go to the different festivals, I can go to Navy Pier, I can go to Michigan Avenue. And of course, when I go to all those places, people see me and they say, ooh, that's that good looking, charming dude, Lou Brown. I've seen him on YouTube and in social media. And I think I've even seen him in an ad for Online Presenters, that really awesome club. And I know it's awesome because Lou's part of that club. You know, I really can't think of anything particular that I like about myself. I really have to think pretty hard, you know, and I'm very modest. So I'm not sure I would actually say that I'm great in anything or charming, good looking and all that stuff because, you know, again, I'm introverted myself. I don't look at myself or feel about myself in that way. You know, I don't brag or aggrandize or anything like, oh, that's a good word, aggrandize.
Aggrandize.
That much. And I don't know, I just can't think of one thing, Mr. Topics Master, so I guess you'll have to go on to the next topic. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Lou, thank you. And such modesty as well. All right. Got time for 2 more, I think, by my looking at this. Asil, for you, what small act of kindness were you once shown that you'll never forget? So what small act of kindness were you once shown that you will never forget?
This summer I had a trip to London, and you know, under the metro system was so complicated, and I needed to get to some station, so I was kind of lost. And then one woman looked at me and she said, "You look so lost. Can I help you?" So she explained to me how I can get to that station. So this kind of kindness I will never forget, because next time when I go to London and I will be at that station, I will always be remembering that woman. And I'm so lucky to be surrounded with many kind people. And every time I meet their kind actions, and I'm so lucky with that. So back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Asil. Patty, we haven't asked you a question, and you don't have another role, so I have one for you. And the question for you is it more important to do what you love or to love what you do? Is it more important to do what you love or to love what you do? Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. I get a chance to extemporize. So that makes, because I've done them both and they both bring me a lot of joy. When I was doing the things that I love, part of what I get to do is show other people the things that I need to be assisted with. I run a nonprofit ministry, and I absolutely love that because I get an opportunity to help sexual assault victims to heal and to become whole again and to be productive in life. And so in that respect, I absolutely love what I do. On the other hand, I totally forgot the question. Okay, laugh at me. I love them both. I love what I do, and I just totally forgot what the question was. But anyway, you have to love what you do, and you have to do what you love. That's what the other part was. I enjoy doing what I love because, I have so many talents that I feel like I've been given in life. And so many times I sat down on those talents. I'm in the process of writing many different books, but yet I've never actually published them. But I enjoy writing because it allows me to really just purge a lot of the things in my life that are going on that I need to get out of my system. But I'm also hoping that some of those will be good enough to publish one day and other people will be able to read them and enjoy them as much as I have. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate the question. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Patty. Mr. Toastmaster, I have one more question. We are at the time where this is supposed to end, but I have one more question and one more person I would like to ask. Can I extend Table Topics by 2 minutes? All right, good-o. In that case, one last question. And Lois, since you're the only person without a significant role, you know it's going to be for you. Would you rather lose all of your old memories or never be able to make new ones? So you can lose your old memories or never make new ones. Choose. Lois Margot.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. Well, I am an evaluator, but I do love this question. I am dealing with this with my 93-year-old mother-in-law who is only remembering her old memories. Everything new is new. And when you sit down and you chat with her, she'll tell you, did you know it still has holes in that gray sweater? And then 3 minutes later, you'll hear, that gray sweater still has holes in it. I don't know if it bothers her as much as it does the listener. After a while, you get used to it and you can handle it, but it's kind of scary. So a bigger question for me is not necessarily is it that you don't want to lose your old memories or not make new memories. I have 2 elderly women in my life. My mother is 99 and my mother-in-law is 93. My mother has perfect abilities. I mean, she is on the ball. Everything is great, except the body isn't quite there. And I've got my mother-in-law whose body is all there, but the mind is going. So the question to me is, which one is better and which one would you rather have? And you know what, sir? It is a really difficult toss-up no matter which way you look at it, because all you want to do is when you hit those 90s is be healthy in both mind and body. And hope by the time we reach that AARP time frame, because I have so many years to go, that we'll have technology to keep it going. Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you. All right. Now, if the timekeeper can put the times for the table topics into the chat box, so you can then send your votes to our vote counter on the best topic for tonight. And I'll now hand control of the meeting back to our Toastmaster of the evening, the one, the only, don't swoon, ladies, he's only human. Here's Norman Dow.
Thank you, Graham. And I forgot to mention that you should send your votes for the speakers to Roger and everyone qualified in time. Okay. Now we will turn to our evaluation portion, and let me introduce Roger, who will be our general evaluator. Roger?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. First of all, you see that all of our table topic speakers qualify in terms of their time. You see the list of names in the chat box. If you have not voted for the prepared speaker, please note them if you have a vote to note that next to it so I know how to separate those votes. But let's dive right into our prepared speech evaluations. First off is Jimmy Den evaluating our speech from Tiger. Jimmy, take it over.
Okay, thank you. Tiger, that was very interesting. Yeah, for the leadership role in level 2. You definitely told us how you became Tiger. I like that you explained that when you were a child, that your father, your parents said, that kid is a real tiger. It goes back to your childhood, and it's stuck with you all this time. I also enjoyed that you explained you oppose authority. That's something I can share with you. But it also led into other things you talked about, that you were voted to be the most inspirational player, which really tied into your ending where you said you became an encourager rather than an authoritative leader. It's an encouraging leader. And you became the coach you always wanted to be, which was encouraging people. Now, there were other things about your speech I liked, and that was that you spoke standing up, and that made your gestures and movements much more natural. That's something I'm still practicing on, because when you do stand up, you're not holding onto a table or resting your arms on a table or sitting in a chair. So movements become more natural. The overall stories were great. They connected from the time you were childhood to the time you became an adult in coaching other children or youths. They connected together. It was a nice flow as you transitioned up in age. Some of the things I would suggest is work on more expressive, exaggerated voice variety. You had voice variety, but I would make it much more noticeable and exaggerated. The other thing I would do to challenge yourself is develop a series of responses to how the audience may be visually responding to some of the things you say, such as when you were explaining how you bump helmets in the football with your football buddy. You might pay attention to people and how they react and pick one or two people, and then have something prepared to either call on them about something or make a comment about how they reacted, which would really show more of your awareness of the audience and how they're reacting to your speech. I like the speech. It's a very good storytelling. So that's the end of my evaluation.
Thank you, Jimmy Den. One thing that you may want to do is to review the recording, because when Tiger actually have stood up, he pointed his camera up into the ceiling. I don't know if you noticed, but he made it so that almost looked like he was in a flat screen, but he almost pulled it off, so it was wonderful. So learn something when he just have to pull something out quickly. Let's move to our second evaluator, Lois, working off of our speech from Jacinta. Lois, please.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, my fellow Toastmasters, and mostly Jacinta. Developing leaders. Jacinta, I love when you speak. First of all, you bring such an energy, and you have that kindness that just surrounds you in everything that you do. This was Jacinta's second part of the Distinguished Toastmaster Project, and I thought you did a really good job explaining it. You told us what it was, why you were doing it, and you went through what we can expect in this speech. And I liked the setup. Sometimes I think people spend too much time on the setup, but here I really liked it. I also liked how you engaged us by asking, who here has ever had a 360-degree evaluation? You paused and you waited for the hands to go up. Many times we see that the hands go up, but the speaker's already rolling right through them, and they're going so fast that nobody can really understand what the answer to that was. You did have, I think, a couple of technical problems because you had a black screen and you had your presentation, so you might have been running out of juice, so I don't really care about that. I also like the fact that you shared with us the timetable and what you were doing each week with the 4 participants. I thought that was really a great idea. I liked your charts. I thought your screens were really clean and we understood it. What are some of the things that you could do that might make this just a little bit stronger? Well, recognize that when you do screens, for some reason, a couple of your screens were all the way over to the side here, and I thought more was going to start flying in, but it didn't. So beware that because you had a lot of words on this, you might have wanted to make it bigger or make the boxes wider so that it kind of centered a little bit more. I'm OCD, I get it. I like centered. So that was just something that kind of caught me by surprise. Also, when you're doing the 360-degree, the 360 was nice and big, but everything else was like, what? Maybe what you want to do is put that on 5 or 6 different screens. That way you don't have a lot of words, but you can have more pictures and it's more memorable. Overall, I enjoyed this presentation very much. And my final challenge to you, my dear, don't use PowerPoint. I would love to see you give a speech without PowerPoint, because you're always using PowerPoint, and as much as I love you with them, I would like to be able to see your face in full screen and just hear from the heart one of your speeches, because I think you're just an amazing speaker. I look forward to your next one. Can't wait. I hope this is your second DTM path that you're finishing, and we actually get to celebrate your DTM, Mr. General Evaluator.
Wonderful, wonderful evaluation. Thank you, Lois. To round out our third evaluation of Jim Barber's speech is Asil. Asil, take it away.
Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, I have been following Jim posts on Facebook because they're funny and they always give me a good chuckle or laugh. So today I was so looking forward to hearing Jim's speech, to Jim's speech. So Jim, you didn't disappoint me at all with your icebreaker, that age-old question on engaging humor path. Besides, I gained 3 beneficial things that I learned today. 1, 3 loudest things of being old. 2, 3 loudest things of being old. And 3rd, 3 loudest things of being old. Did I forget something? But to be serious, thank you for giving me this opportunity to learn from you. Did you use notice? I didn't notice. I mean, did you use notes? I didn't notice that. If you did, then you did it well. Also, you looked straight at the camera, and even you just saw the green web camera, it felt like you are looking straight at us. We felt connected. And also good usage of gestures, especially when you were talking about the young lady at McDonald's who asked you about senior discount, and you said, "How dare you? How much is discount?" Your facial expression was hilarious. I really loved it. And you know what else was appropriate? Your humor. It shows your style, kind, witty, and sophisticated. In our multicultural environment, it's hard to use humor. For example, in Kazakhstan, we speak two languages, Russian and Kazakh. If you translate Russian jokes into Kazakh, it doesn't sound funny. So vice versa. So your humor was appropriate, and it's great that it can be understood in our multicultural environment. Good job. So recommendations: keep making us laugh over and over, over and over, over and over. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all three of our evaluator. Mr. Timer, would you please let us know whether they all qualified or not? Thumbs up, they all qualify. Please go ahead and send your vote in to Roger, the GE vote counter for our best evaluator. That is Jim Dent, Lois, or Asil. And now let's move and continue on with our feedback portion and hearing from our other role holders whether their feedback is extemporized or not. First, no, not Lois, but Marianne, as our R counter, please let us know what you heard today.
Being a advanced group, I think you guys are doing an amazing job. I had a hard time finding little things to look for. I heard a couple of issues. Jim Barber, there was just one time that you said they're there. That was your first time that you went on the there are three things.
That's
Tiger
because I'm
had a
old.
few. I'm sorry?
That's
Tiger
because
had a
I'm
few
old.
run-on sentences. And so watch out for that. Christian had a couple of ums. So did Carol. I caught two you knows. And I heard one double clutch from Jimmy Dean where he said your. And those are tiny little things if I want to be nitpicky. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Our grammarian, Mr. Modest Lou Brown, please let us know what you heard today.
Certainly, Mr. General Evaluator. I'll point out a couple of colorful uses of phraseology. Kangaroo court, convey the dismay. I liked it because it rhymed. Celebrate your results. Some good word choice that we don't hear in everyday language. Apropos. I put impromptu because it is, I would say, not as uncommon, but it certainly isn't a word that you can easily use every day, except when we do table topics, of course. Jimmy B, I just liked how you said someplace nice. McDonald's. That just made me laugh. Let's see. I still with vice versa. Patty, I really liked your love what you do and do what you love phrase. That was awesome. Graham, you used some French phrase. I do not know how to spell it, but I'll just call it the French phrase. Okay, let's see. We heard the word introverted used, I think, 3 times. I thought, wow, that should be the word of the day. However, I did hear Jimmy B use the word of the day, extemporaneous. I heard Roger use it. Carol, I thought maybe you used it. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. And let's see. Oh, and I started writing down for Jimmy Dent, your. Then I realized I must be getting old. I'm not the odd counter. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Let's take a look and see what our watcher have seen during this last hour or so. Mr. Christian, what did you see?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. So first thing first, if anyone comes and tells me the watcher is the easiest role, I'm going to slap that person because I was just taking notes. I thought I was going to have an easy night. No. So let's start with the good news and then let's move to the better news. 16 of us have been on screen and 15 of us have been and are still centered on the screen. That means your position, and that's good news for our dear Lois. All your positions are in the center, so no worries there, Lois. The one person who was not on the center of the screen is our timer, and I understand why. It's because he's using his timing device on the other side of the screen. One thing that I was wondering with our timer is he in a sauna room? Because at some point I saw the light go from pale blue onto the other spectrum of red, but I realized he was actually using a timing device. We also had 6 of us having virtual backgrounds, and they were not at all distracting. On the other hand, very accommodating and pleasant to the eye. One recommendation I have is just be careful for 2 of you on the lighting that you're using, because at times your screen at the bottom gets pixelated. So be careful of that. We can see the pixels, especially when you move front and back. A couple of recommendations. We have 7 of us wearing spectacles, and out of the 7, only 1 throughout the whole meeting from start to finish, only 1 had no glare. Congratulations, our newest member of the AALP, that is you. My second recommendation is, well, before I move to the second recommendation, so on the item of glosses, be careful of the lighting, or just like me, I'm a big gloss wearer. Just remove your glosses when you're speaking. My second recommendation is more of a question. Should we use our arm as chin support? And how does it look like when we do this? I don't know. It's food for thought. Just keep in mind we're in an advanced club, especially for guests. We're going to be evaluated by our chin support at some point. Having said that, I was listening to one of the speeches, and I was asking myself, is everyone listening, or do we have that Toastmaster bias where we're just listening and like... And I was writing down, we should nod, we should laugh, we should smile. But then I had to scrap that out, because at the next speech, everyone was like and laughing. So I realized we are in a club where everyone, when we listen to the speech with humor, we get into the meat, and we get to encourage our speaker with nice facial expressions. One takeaway from this evaluation from my part is, out of the whole lot, there's only one person who needs to go back and use I SPAC. It's me with the puffy eyes. Having said that, I wish you to extemporize with your virtual background and on-screen lighting whenever you can for the next session. Over to you, Mr. G.
Thank you, Mr. Watcher. Madam Chat Monitor, what did you notice in our chat box? Deborah?
Well, we had many happy birthday. Everyone said happy birthday to Christian, which is really nice. And there he is. He is now awake. He's had his coffee, and away we go. The chat actually was rather quiet tonight. I noticed just recently that Graham went ahead, and I am not even going to try to say what he wrote in French, except I will say it's used in English for a predicament of thinking of a perfect reply too late. It's called staircase wit, which isn't something that generally is known that I know of in the United States. But overall, it was just a quiet night in the chat. Sometimes it does get really busy in there. And we were saying, everyone was congratulating and making remarks on the different speeches. And I goofed up with Jacinta with saying she didn't time, and then because I was thinking 5 to 7 minutes, and she came right in, thankfully, and saved herself on that one. So it was nice, it was quiet, and happy birthday again, sir.
Thank you, Deborah. In terms of a general evaluation, I just have a few points. Number one, good job, Norman, knowing that this weekend with the storm in Florida, we could have had a whole bunch of mess. But as people came in, you were able to juggle with different roles and people doing backup. And, oh, the person show up, we'll go back to the backup and back and forth. And wonderful job in terms of leading. Number two, wonderful job for everybody who's willing to be flexible, to be ready to take on second role if you need to, and back it right off when people do show up. So good job, and good job on Tiger, jumping in and always being prepared. One of the things that I heard from one of the speakers at the convention a week or half ago was, don't get ready, but be ready. And so thank you very much, Tiger, for being ready and jumping in and taking that speaker spot. And lastly, Graham, wonderful questions. And Lou, you were the only one that I have ever attempted to mute right in the middle of your speech, but I'm glad that I did not do it. With that said, I want to present to you the 3 winners of today. And that is our best evaluator first is Asil. Our best table topic speaker, the person I almost muted, Mr. Lou Brown. And let's have a drum roll for our best speaker, please. Our best speaker for today, the one who gave us the preview to his humorous speech contest speech, possibly, Mr. Jim Barber. With that, back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, Norman. All yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any guests? I don't think we do. We've had a great meeting. I really enjoyed it. And now we'll turn it over to our presiding officer, Lois.
Thank you, Norman. I have approximately 5 minutes to go with a bunch of information to share. Since we will not be having a special speaker on September 23rd, I have opened it up. If some of you are looking for speaking spots, Marianne, Carol, Patty, you haven't been here for a while. If you want to grab those spots, they're open. Go for it. Roger is going to be our contest co-chair with Monica, for those of you that didn't hear, and it's going to be a humorous contest on October 21st. For those of you that didn't notice online, Elaine has finished level 2 of Dynamic Pathways. We have Roger, Elaine, and Jacinta. You are also scheduled to speak next week. Or did you mean to have back-to-back like that? Because that's 3 weeks back-to-back. Okay. We need a Toastmaster for next week. Do I have any volunteers before we do a voluntold? Let's see. Who would like to? Deborah Carr.
I was just Toastmaster last week, so I'd like to leave it for someone else. That's why I'm happy to do it. But
okay. So would you like to do it? Would you like to be our Toastmaster of the Day next week? Asil?
Are you asking me? Okay.
I am.
Okay, I am.
All right, there you go. I know, Elaine, Jacinta, you had said that we were going to be putting up the video of why a speech contest. I haven't seen that online yet. I guess we'll need to check with David Carr on that one.
It's on the Facebook page.
Oh, it's on the Facebook page. Okay. So on the Facebook page, I gave a speech at the Speechathon. Why should you be in a speech contest? If you haven't had a chance to see it, please take a moment, review it. It's only a 5 to 7 minute speech, but it does kind of get people jazzed up as to why they should be in a speech contest. I am going to do a special shout out to David Carr and Chris Gould because I had to put together a video and figure out how to edit it. And I'm going, I gotta go find out how they did that. And I went back through all of our videos and I found it and it turned out magnificent. So big kudos to them. Thank you. I would like to ask a question before my time is up because I've been finding as I've been giving this speech about why should you be in a speech contest, how many here actually see themselves as an introvert? So we are looking at more than 50%. And I'm finding as I go from club to club, it is almost a 60 to 70% ratio of people that perceive themselves as an introvert and look to Toastmasters to get them out of that box. So when you are talking to people, recognize that they're all in the same boat you are, and that might give you a different perspective of your audience. Lastly, it has been a great meeting. I have a minute and a half for any questions, comments, or concerns. Let's keep it open. Carol, it's been a while. What did you think?
Oh, it was fabulous. Sorry for my delay. I was told to log in and sign up to give a speech, so sorry, I got distracted.
I'm glad you're signing up. Yay. Okay. And for those of you that haven't been Toastmaster of the Day for a while, Please don't make us voluntold. We really want you to do that on your own. We all know how to do it. It's just a little bit more of a juggle. Roger.
Lois, I just want to confirm real quickly, are Patty and Marianne officially members of Online Presenters?
I know Marianne is in the system. Patty should be in the system as of today. So I will confirm with you on that. So yes, it didn't seem fair to put her in last week when you had to, she'd already passed Monday. So we were holding it until today. So yes, they are both official. And in case you haven't noticed, we have a news section on our website that lists the last 5 members that have been entered into the system. So I
Wonderful.
know that they're working
as a follow-up to your request for becoming the Toastmaster of the day, if any one of you has concerns or questions, let me know. We have a template that gives you a very simple version of how we run our club in Online Presenters. Just connect with me and we can talk, and so you get ready to be our Toastmaster of the day.
There you go. All right. That sounds like we are done. Patty, welcome to the club. And Jim, be safe. Anybody else that's in this storm's path, please be safe and have a wonderful night. Roger, are you going to stay on for a few minutes?
I am not going to stay on for a few minutes because I have to go make dinner.
Okay, well, have a good one. Does anybody need to stay on for any reason?